Shane Murphy was halfway through his third beer when he leaned across the table at Red Oak Tavern and said, "Bryce, you got to tell them about Logan Hayes Webb. The guys from American Legion Post 47 were having our usual Thursday night gathering. 6 former Navy men who'd served our country and now worked the DC defense contractor circuit." "Which story?" I asked, though I knew exactly what Shane meant. "The one where some trust fund kid tried to screw you out of 95 grand and ended up destroying his daddy's company instead." Wade Turner, who'd served with me on the USS Toledo, grinned and signaled the bartender for another round. This I got to hear. I'm Bryce Coleman, by the way. 49 years old, 22 years Navy, graduated Annapolis in 2000. Spent most of my service on attack submarines doing signals intelligence work in places I still can't talk about. Got a Bronze Star for some operations in the Persian Gulf that'll stay classified until I'm dead. These days I drive a Ford F-150 King Ranch and work in the defense contractor world building encryption systems that keep American forces safe overseas. "All right," I said, settling back in the booth. "But you guys aren't going to believe how this kid managed to hand me a $50 million company just because he couldn't stand the thought of me getting a performance bonus." The whole thing started on a Tuesday morning. I was in the conference room at Ironclad Systems briefing 3 Pentagon officials on our latest encryption protocol. Colonel Martinez from Army Cyber Command, Dr. Patricia Wells from DPA, and Commander Brooks from Naval Intelligence. Not exactly people you keep waiting. Logan Hayes Webb didn't knock. The conference room door flew open like he owned the place, which technically his daddy did. This kid strutted in wearing a suit that probably cost more than most of these guys made in a month, looking like he'd just stepped off a yacht. "Dad needs to wrap this up," he announced, not even acknowledging our guests. "I have real business to discuss." Now, 22 years in the Navy teaches you to read situations fast. I'd handled classified briefings with admirals who could end careers with a nod. But this wasn't tactical incompetence. This was deliberate disrespect. Colonel Martinez slowly looked up from his notes. Dr. Wells stopped mid-sentence. Commander Brooks, who I'd actually served with briefly in Norfolk, just stared. These weren't junior analysts. They were decision-makers on an $18 million defense contract, and this pampered brat had just dismissed them like they were interrupting his lunch. "Gentlemen," I said, keeping my voice steady the way they teach you at the academy, "perhaps we could reschedule for tomorrow morning." After they left, stone-faced and clearly unimpressed, Logan plopped into the head chair like he'd just conquered Europe. The silence stretched until he spoke. "Dad wants to see you in his office now." Shane chuckled and shook his head. Kid had no idea who he was messing with. "None whatsoever," I agreed. See, Logan was Curtis Webb's son. Curtis was the CEO, decent guy, former Army officer who understood how to treat people. But Logan, 29 years old, Stanford MBA, never served a day in his life, and convinced he was smarter than everyone else in the room. The walk to Curtis's corner office felt like a death march. Logan strutted ahead, probably thinking he'd just pulled off some masterful power play. What he didn't know was that he'd just triggered something that would bring down their entire company. "You gotta understand," I told the guys, "I'd been at Ironclad for 17 years, started there fresh out of the Navy when we were just 12 engineers in a converted warehouse. Back then, Admiral Burke was still running things." Wade leaned forward. "I remember Admiral Burke. Good man. Old school Navy, the best," I agreed. Burke understood something Logan never would, that the people who build the technology should control it, not the suits who inherit it. He'd seen what happened when bean counters took over defense contractors. Good people got shown the door to make quarterly numbers look better. About 10 years back, Admiral Burke had pulled me aside after a company barbecue. We ended up at his house, sitting on his back deck with a bottle of bourbon, talking about the future of the company. "Bryce," he'd said, "I'm writing something special into your contract. That annual bonus you earn, once it pays out, all intellectual property rights for our core encryption suite transfer to you legally and permanently." I nearly choked on my bourbon. "Admiral, what are you talking about?" "Protection," he said simply. "For you, for the technology, for everything we've built. Board can't sell it, can't give it away, can't let some incompetent heir destroy it." At the time, I thought he was being paranoid. The company was solid, profitable, growing. But Admiral Burke had survived hostile takeovers and market crashes. He knew storms could come from anywhere. The clause was bulletproof. I explained to my Legion buddies. Burke had his old JAG lawyer write it. As long as I stayed employed, the company kept their crown jewels. But if they ever fired me after the bonus processed, they'd lose everything. Wade whistled. Everything. That clause sat dormant for a decade. Every year I'd get my bonus. The IP rights would briefly transfer to me, then automatically revert when I showed up for work the next day. Clean, simple, legal. Admiral Burke called it insurance. But standing outside Curtis's office that Tuesday, listening to raised voices through the oak door, I knew Logan was about to change the game forever. Curtis was fighting for his legacy. 6 months earlier, he'd announced a merger with Sierra Tech Defense, a $290 million deal that would make Ironclad the leading cybersecurity contractor on the East Coast. Problem was that merger depended entirely on the encryption suite I'd built. See, the technology wasn't just software, I explained. It was a complete security architecture. Pentagon had been using our stuff for everything from drone communications to submarine fleet coordination. You can't just replace that overnight. The door opened. Curtis looked like he'd aged 5 years in the past month. Logan bounced in behind me, practically vibrating with excitement. "Bryce," Curtis said, not bothering with pleasantries. "We're making some organizational changes." Logan stepped forward like he was accepting an Academy Award. "Effective immediately, your employment with Ironclad Systems is terminated." He slid a termination letter across the mahogany desk. Clean, professional, final, dated exactly 48 hours before my $95,000 bonus was scheduled to pay out. I picked up the pen and signed without a word. No arguments, no protests, just my signature on the dotted line. Logan had expected drama, shouting, pleading, maybe some desperate negotiation. Instead, I just stood up, straightened my tie, and headed for the door. "That's it," Logan called after me. No speech, no threats. I turned back, looking him dead in the eye. Good luck with the Sierra merger, son. His confusion was perfect. He had no idea what he'd just done. Shane was grinning now, and that's when the fun started. "That's when the timer started," I corrected. 48 hours until bonus payment. 48 hours until Logan learned that trying to save $95,000 was about to cost his family $50 million. So there I was, I continued, taking a sip of my beer, walking out of Ironclad with a cardboard box of my personal stuff, escorted by HR, like I was some kind of security risk. 22 years protecting classified submarine communications. And now I'm being walked to the door by a 20-something HR girl who probably couldn't find Norfolk on a map. Wade Turner laughed. "Man, I've been there. Nothing worse than the perp walk when you know you've done nothing wrong. But here's the thing," I said. The moment I got home, my phone started buzzing like a submarine sonar during a torpedo run. I'd barely gotten my F-150 parked in my apartment complex when Shane himself called. "Bryce, what the hell happened over there?" Words already spreading through the network that some punk kid fired you right before the Sierra deal. That's the thing about the Navy community in DC. We're tight. When someone with my clearance level and track record suddenly becomes available, every defense contractor within 50 miles knows about it before the ink's dry on the termination papers. Just Logan being Logan, I'd told Shane. "Nothing I can't handle. Brother, you build half the encryption systems the fleet runs on. If you're available, I've got 3 projects at Northrop that could use your expertise. Still got your TSCI clearance, current through next year." That was call number 1. Before I could even crack open a Budweiser, Wade Turner was on the line from his consulting firm. "Bryce, heard you got the boot." Logan Hayes Webb lose his mind. His son made the call. Logan, that preppy little snake. Hell, Bryce. He couldn't find his way out of a paper bag with a map and a GPS unit. What's Curtis thinking? I was starting to realize something Logan hadn't counted on. In 24 hours, I'd already had 3 job offers from major defense contractors. The kid thought he was destroying my career. Instead, he just advertised to the entire industry that Bryce Coleman was available. But the call that really mattered came while I was heating up leftover pizza. "Bryce Coleman speaking. This is Lance Foster with Sierra Tech Defense. We need to talk now." Lance was smart money. His company had been circling Ironclad for 2 years, waiting for the right moment to make their move. His voice was tight, controlled, like a submarine captain who just detected an unknown contact. "My legal team just flagged something in the merger documents," Lance continued. "There's a personnel clause that names you specifically as essential to the technology transfer. Says if you're not with Ironclad at closing, we have the right to walk away." I sat down at my kitchen table, looking at the countdown timer I'd built on my computer. 47 hours, 23 minutes, and 14 seconds until bonus payment. That's interesting, Lance. Bryce, I'm going to ask you straight. Are you still employed by Ironclad? As of 4 p.m. this afternoon, no. The pause stretched long enough for me to grab my bottle of Woodford Reserve, the good stuff Ashley had given me for my birthday. My daughter was a junior at Georgetown studying international relations, Dean's List every semester. That $95,000 bonus wasn't just money to me. It was her spring semester tuition and the final payment on my divorce settlement with Linda. Sweet Jesus, Lance finally said. Do they know about the clause? I doubt it. Logan never read the contracts. Kid's the type who skims executive summaries and lets lawyers handle the details. Bryce, what would it take to bring you on board with Sierra directly? I watched the timer count down another minute. Let me think about it, Lance. Things might be changing in the next day or two. What kind of changes? The kind that make this conversation a lot more interesting. Shane was shaking his head. You didn't tell him about Admiral Burke's clause. Not yet. I wanted to see how desperate they'd get first. The next morning brought news alerts on my phone. Ironclad's stock down 8% on merger uncertainty. Some analyst had caught wind of personnel changes and started asking uncomfortable questions about the technology transfer. By the time I finished my morning coffee, Logan was calling. His voice had lost all its swagger from the day before. Bryce, we need to talk. I'm listening. There seems to be some confusion about your termination. Maybe we were too hasty. I almost laughed out loud. Confusion, like accidentally firing your chief architect was just a clerical error. What kind of confusion, Logan? Sierra's lawyers are asking questions about some clause in the merger documents about your role in the technology transfer. Ah, I said, taking another sip of coffee. Section 12, subsection 4, personnel continuity requirements. You know about it, Logan. I helped write that clause. Sierra insisted on it during negotiations. They wanted assurance that key technical personnel would remain through the integration period. The silence on the other end was beautiful. I could practically hear the wheels turning in his head, trying to figure out how he'd missed something so important. Look, Bryce, maybe we can work something out. Reinstatement, back pay, maybe even a retention bonus. I'm not coming back, Logan. What do you mean you're not coming back? Bryce, this is your life's work. This is your company. No, I said quietly. This was my company. Now it's just another place where people make bad decisions. I hung up and called my daughter. Hey, Dad. Ashley's voice was bright, cheerful. How's work? Funny you should ask, sweetheart. I just became unemployed. What? Dad, what happened? I told her the story, keeping it simple. Logan had made a power play, fired me right before my bonus, and now the whole company was in chaos. That's terrible, Dad. Are you going to be okay? What about my tuition? And that's when it really hit me. Logan hadn't just tried to humiliate me. He'd tried to mess with my daughter's future. Ashley had worked her tail off to get into Georgetown. She had dreams of working in international relations, maybe even the State Department someday. Don't worry about tuition, kiddo. Dad's got it handled. And Ashley, I'm proud of you. Not just your grades, but the way you've handled everything with the divorce. With me being deployed so much when you were younger, you turned out better than your old man deserved. Dad, don't say that. You taught me about integrity, about doing the right thing, even when it's hard. After I hung up, I sat back and thought about those words, integrity. Admiral Burke had built that clause to protect integrity. The integrity of the technology, the company, the people who did the real work. Wade leaned forward. So what happened next? Logan started panicking. By afternoon, the calls were coming every hour. Curtis Webb himself, sounding desperate. Sierra's lawyers asking pointed questions about intellectual property ownership. Some reporter from Defense Week who'd somehow gotten my number. And you just let them sweat. I let them sweat. I had something more important to do. That evening, I'd driven over to Arlington National Cemetery. Walked down to Admiral Burke's grave, Section 60, not far from where they bury the recent war dead. Stood there for about an hour, watching the sun set over the Potomac. Admiral, I'd said quietly, I think your insurance policy is about to pay off. The guys at Red Oak were quiet for a moment. We all understood that feeling, the weight of responsibility, the knowledge that someone who'd served before us had trusted us with something important. 24 hours to go, Shane said. 24 hours, I agreed. And Logan still had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I told the guys I woke up to my phone buzzing like a fire alarm. Ironclad stock had opened down 18%. The financial press was having a field day with the story. Wade whistled low, 18%. That's blood in the water, and the sharks were circling. Sierra Tech Defense had announced that they were reviewing certain aspects of the pending merger. Translation: they were getting ready to walk. I'd ignored most of the calls and gone for my usual 5-mile run through Arlington, past the Pentagon, past the memorials, past all the places that reminded me why the work mattered. The encryption systems I'd built weren't just software, they protected American lives. Navy ships in the South China Sea, Army units in Syria, Air Force drones over Afghanistan. When I got back, there was a black sedan parked outside my apartment building. Curtis Webb sat in the back seat, looking like he'd aged a decade overnight. "Bryce," he said as I approached, still in my running gear. "Please, 5 minutes." I got in the car. Curtis had always been straight with me, even when his son was being an idiot. Military guys understand chains of command and personal accountability. "My son made a mistake," he said without preamble. "A catastrophic, career-ending mistake. Curtis, I've got nothing against you personally. You've always treated me fair." But Logan crossed a line. He's young, stupid, arrogant. Curtis rubbed his face with both hands. "But Bryce, this company employs 400 people. Good people. Engineers, technicians, support staff, people with mortgages and kids in college." I studied his face. The desperation was real. Curtis had built this company from what Admiral Burke left behind. And now he was watching his son tear it apart. "What exactly are you asking me to do, Curtis?" "Come back. Work with us. Help us get through this merger. Name your terms, salary, equity, whatever you want. Logan will be reassigned permanently." I checked my watch. 6 hours, 14 minutes until bonus payment. "Curtis, in about 6 hours. None of this is going to matter. Not the merger, not the stock price, not Logan's future. The game's about to change completely." "What are you talking about?" Ask Admiral Burke's old lawyer. "Check the contracts from 2014. Read Section 9 of my employment agreement." His face went pale. Curtis was sharp enough to know that when someone mentions a specific contract section, it's not good news. "Bryce, what's in Section 9? The reason Logan should have fired me in January, not October." I got out of the car and headed upstairs. Behind me, Curtis was already on his phone, probably calling every lawyer in the building. The guys at Red Oak were hanging on every word now. Even the bartender had stopped pretending to clean glasses and was listening in. 4 hours later, I continued. My phone rang. Unknown number. It was Sandra Kim, Ironclad's general counsel, professional, controlled. But I could hear the panic underneath. "Mr. Coleman, we need to discuss Section 9 of your employment contract. I'm listening. According to our records, you have a performance bonus scheduled for payment in approximately 2 hours. That's correct. And according to Section 9, payment of that bonus triggers a transfer of intellectual property rights for the core encryption suite. That's correct." The pause stretched long enough for me to pour myself 3 fingers of Woodford Reserve. "Mr. Coleman, are you willing to negotiate? We're prepared to offer significant compensation. Stock options, cash settlements, executive positions. No thanks. Logan will be removed from any operational role permanently." I'd almost laughed at that. "Sandra, Logan should have been removed years ago, but Curtis couldn't bring himself to do it. Why should I believe anything's changed?" But here's what I didn't tell Sandra, what I couldn't tell her. That conversation wasn't really about negotiation. It was about something bigger. I paused to take a drink, looking around at my fellow veterans. These guys understood duty, honor, country. They understood that some things mattered more than money. See, Admiral Burke didn't just write that clause to protect me. He wrote it to protect the technology, to make sure it stayed in the right hands, serving the right purpose. The encryption suite wasn't just some corporate asset to be bought and sold. It was a shield protecting American forces overseas. Shane nodded slowly. And Logan never understood that, never even occurred to him. To Logan, it was just another product to monetize. At 4:47 that afternoon, sitting in my apartment with my laptop open, I watched the timer hit 0. The computer chimed softly. The same automated system I'd designed years ago to track bonuses and IP transfers, transfer complete. All rights to Encryption Suite version 4.2 and associated technologies now held by Bryce Coleman, individual proprietor. 47 pages of legal documentation, all culminating in one simple fact. I now owned the technology that made Ironclad systems valuable. Logan had tried to deny me $95,000. Instead, he'd handed me intellectual property worth about $50 million. My phone rang immediately. Lance Foster. Bryce, my legal team just confirmed it. You own the encryption suite. I do? You know what this means? I've got a pretty good idea. Lance's voice had excitement now. Energy. Bryce, we've been planning this merger for 2 years, spent $8 million in legal fees, due diligence, integration planning. But here's the thing, I'm not angry. I'm impressed. How's that? Because now I can deal directly with the person who actually built the technology instead of going through a bunch of suits who don't understand what they're selling. That evening, I'd driven over to Georgetown to see Ashley. Found her in the library, buried in international relations textbooks, working on a paper about cybersecurity and national defense. Dad, she jumped up and hugged me. How are you holding up? Better than I expected, sweetheart. I told her about the day's events, carefully, without going into classified details. But I wanted her to understand something important. Ashley, sometimes in life, people are going to try to knock you down. Try to make you feel small, worthless, expendable. When that happens, you remember 2 things. First, your worth isn't determined by what other people think of you. Second, the best response isn't anger or revenge. It's patience and preparation. She'd smiled at that. You sound like Admiral Burke. He taught me a lot about planning for the long term. Wade Turner was grinning now. So what did Sierra offer? Exclusive licensing agreement. Minimum guarantee of $75 million over 5 years. Equity participation. Complete creative control. And Logan. Logan called 6 more times that night. Each message more desperate than the last. By the end, he was practically begging. The last message had been the best. Logan's voice cracking, all the arrogance gone. Bryce, please call me back. My father's career, my future, 400 jobs, it's all falling apart. We can fix this. We can make this right, but some things can't be fixed. Some mistakes have consequences that go beyond apologies and settlements. The next morning, I told the guys, the news broke like a tsunami. Defense contractor acquires encryption technology in direct deal, bypasses merger. The headline was trending across every business outlet by 9 a.m. I'd been up since dawn fielding calls from reporters, investors, and competitors who wanted to know how a $50 million technology transfer had happened overnight. Stock opened down 32%. I told the guys at Red Oak, trading was halted twice in the first hour. Shane was shaking his head. Logan must have been losing his mind. Logan was about to learn what happens when you mess with the wrong veteran. The press conference was scheduled for noon. Curtis Webb standing behind a podium in Ironclad's corporate headquarters, looking like a general who'd just lost his entire command. The words he had to say were probably the hardest of his career. Yesterday, Ironclad Systems lost the rights to our core encryption technology due to a personnel decision made by my son, Logan Hayes Webb. This decision was made without board approval and without understanding the contractual implications. I'd watched it live from my new corner office at Sierra Tech Defense. Bigger than my old one, better view of the Potomac, and filled with engineers who actually wanted to be there. As a result, Curtis continued, his voice barely steady, Logan has been terminated from his position and will have no future role in this company. I want to publicly apologize to Bryce Coleman, whose termination was unjustified and has caused irreparable harm to our company and our shareholders. Mr. Coleman served Ironclad with distinction for 17 years and deserved far better treatment. Logan wasn't at the press conference. Word around the industry was that security had escorted him from the building that morning. His company credit cards canceled, his access revoked. Some trust fund kid finally learned that daddy's name only protects you so far. What happened to Logan after that? Wade asked. Funny thing about the defense contractor world, I said. Word travels fast and memories run even longer. Nobody would touch him. Last I heard, he moved to California to start some cryptocurrency venture. Something about revolutionizing blockchain technology. The guys all laughed. We'd seen plenty of young hotshots think they could reinvent everything without understanding the fundamentals. But the real payoff came that afternoon when Ashley called. Dad, I just saw the news. Are you kidding me? You own the whole encryption system now. That's right, sweetheart. Dad, I'm so proud of you. Not because of the money, but because you didn't let them push you around. You stood up for what you built. Your old man's got a few tricks left, kiddo. What happens now? I'd looked around my new office. 115 of Ironclad's best engineers had already accepted offers to join Sierra. The whole naval intelligence team I'd built over the years. They'd rather work for me than whoever Ironclad brought in to replace me. Now we build something better. We've got government contracts worth $500 million over the next 5 years. And Ashley, your tuition's paid through law school if you want it. But the conversation that meant the most came later that week. Lance Foster knocked on my office door around closing time. "Bryce, got a minute? What's up?" "Just got off the phone with Admiral Morrison at the Pentagon. They want to fast-track our submarine communications contract. Apparently, they're impressed with how we handled the transition. That felt better than the money, better than the equity, better than watching Logan's world collapse. Knowing that the work still mattered, that American forces would still have the best encryption technology in the world. There's something else," Lance continued. "The Admiral wants to establish a scholarship program, military families, kids whose parents served. He wants you to help run it." I thought about Admiral Burke, about the values he tried to protect, about Ashley working late in that Georgetown library, pursuing her dreams because her father had been willing to serve his country. I'd be honored. Wade raised his beer. "So what's the moral of the story, Bryce?" I thought about that for a moment. About Logan probably sitting in some Silicon Valley coffee shop right now, trying to convince investors that his blockchain idea would change the world. About Curtis sailing around Martha's Vineyard, wondering where he went wrong as a father. About the 400 Ironclad employees who'd found new jobs because companies like Sierra needed good people. The moral? Read your contracts. Know your worth. And remember that the people who try to diminish you usually end up diminishing themselves. And Shane prompted, and sometimes losing your job is the best thing that ever happened to you. 3 months later, Ironclad filed for bankruptcy. The remaining patents were sold off to pay creditors. Curtis retired quietly to his house on the vineyard. The engineers who joined Sierra were building the next generation of defense encryption technology, but the story doesn't end there. Last month, I got a call from a young Navy lieutenant, fresh out of the academy, working on submarine communications at Norfolk. His name was Alex Morrison, Admiral Morrison's grandson. "Mr. Coleman, I'm starting my transition to civilian life next year. I've heard about what you're building at Sierra. Any chance you might have room for another submarine guy?" "Lieutenant, there's always room for good people who understand the mission. That's the thing about military values. They don't retire when you take off the uniform. Honor, duty, service, to something bigger than yourself." Admiral Burke understood that. Logan never did. These days, when young engineers ask me for career advice, I tell them the same thing Admiral Burke told me 20 years ago. Be too valuable to lose and too dangerous to cross. Build something that matters. Protect what's important, and always read your contracts. The $95,000 bonus Logan tried to deny me hit my account exactly when it was supposed to. Contract law doesn't care about office politics. But that money was just the trigger. The real payoff was everything that came after. Ashley graduated summa cum laude last spring. She's starting law school at Georgetown this fall, specializing in international trade and defense policy. Smart girl who understands that technology and national security go hand in hand. Sometimes the best revenge isn't elaborate or dramatic. Sometimes it's just being patient enough to let other people's bad decisions catch up with them. Logan thought he was playing chess. Turns out he was just moving pieces around while I was playing an entirely different game. Shane finished his beer and stood up. "Bryce, that's one hell of a story." "It's not a story, Shane. It's a reminder." "Of what?" "That in the end, it's not about the money. It's about respect, integrity, and making sure the technology that protects American lives stays in the right hands." I looked around the table at my fellow veterans. Men who'd served their country, who understood sacrifice and duty and the bonds that hold good people together. Logan never understood that. His loss. We raised our glasses in a toast. To Admiral Burke, to second chances, and to the lesson that sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is someone showing you exactly who they really are. The timer on my computer counts up now instead of down. Every second is a reminder that patience beats panic. Preparation beats politics, and sometimes the person who tries to destroy your career ends up handing you the keys to something much better. Logan Hayes Webb learned that lesson the hard way. I just hope he learned it well. 22 years in the Navy taught me that the strongest weapon isn't always the one that makes the most noise, but the one your enemy never sees coming until it's too late. And if there's one thing I learned from Admiral Burke, it's this: when someone shows you their true character, believe them the first time, then make sure you're prepared for what comes next.